As you are probably aware, Laidlaw uses a placard policy to make sure we never ever leave a child on a bus. The placard policy has worked extremely well and has resulted in a near perfect record. While most companies would be pleased with that kind of record, we are not. Even if we only left one child on the bus in the entire history of Laidlaw, that would be one child too many. Recently, we discovered and purchased an ingenious new system called Checkmate, which we believe will enable us to achieve the 100% success rate we're looking for. This program was created to teach you how to install this remarkable system on all of the buses in your fleet. It makes sense, it improves safety and efficiency, and most importantly, enables us to fulfill our promise to never ever leave another child behind. This video is designed as a supplement to the instruction brochure included with your child Checkmate system. This program has been designed to demonstrate every step of the installation process. Child Checkmate is an electronic alarm that reminds bus drivers to walk to the back of the bus at the end of each day. Because drivers must turn off the alarm at the end of their route, it helps remind them to check and make sure there are not any children or personal items left on their bus. The idea for the Child Checkmate system came from concerned bus drivers. It was designed by a bus mechanic with you in mind. The installation process is quick and easy. It generally takes about 20 minutes to install a complete system. And you won't have to fish for any wires. But that's not the only advantage. In addition, there is no ongoing maintenance. Once it's installed, that's it. The system will probably outlive the bus. And it won't interfere with your regular maintenance. Because of where it's located, it doesn't get in the way of other repairs that need to be made. Finally, it doesn't get in your way when you're simply moving the bus around. The design uses the signal from the red overhead lights to activate the system. Let's get started by becoming familiar with all of the system components. The system includes 4 pieces: a master alarm unit, a wiring harness, a rear vehicle transmitter, and for some installations, a conduit kit. A test unit is also available. The master alarm unit fits inside the electrical panel at the front of the bus. The rear vehicle transmitter consists of a reset button wired directly to the rear door buzzer. It is mounted above the last seat on the driver's side. In rear engine models, the unit is mounted on the driver's side as close to the rear seat as possible and is connected to the furthest rear buzzer. Now that you've seen the parts that make up the Child Checkmate system, let's go through the installation procedure and see how simple it is. Before we get started, let me just say this. Because you'll be doing most of your work with the wiring harness, you need to decide where you're going to put the master alarm unit so you can make all of the wires long enough to reach it. To install the Child Checkmate, you will need pliers, a Phillips screwdriver, eyelets, a 12-volt test light, and butt connectors. First, take the black wire ground from the harness, strip it back about 5/16 of an inch, and twist it. Insert the wire into the eyelet and squeeze it with pliers. Take your Phillips screwdriver or a wrench and attach the wire to ground on the frame. You have now finished with the black wire. Next, use a 12-volt test light to check for power coming from the battery. Before you do this, make sure the engine is off. Then, strip and twist the red wire from the harness. Take the pliers and crimp another eyelet onto the wire like this. Connect the red wire to the positive terminal on the battery. Place the washer underneath it and tighten it up. The battery connection is now complete. Next, turn your ignition on and use your test light to check for power coming from the ignition. Take the yellow wire from the harness, strip it, and twist it. Again, we're going to squeeze an eyelet onto the wire and attach the yellow wire to the 12-volt ignition. You are now finished with the yellow wire. Next, check the wire for the overhead lights by testing it with the ignition on. Turn on your overhead lights and check to see that your test light lights up. Be sure to stand clear of the stop sign when you do this. Connect the brown wire to the red overhead lights, the flashers, making sure not to accidentally connect to the master switch. Pull the wire off and add a clip. Piggyback the brown wire onto it so it becomes one connection. Attach the brown wire to the cloning clip. You are now finished with the brown wire. All front buzzers have two wires, one that gives it power and one that's the ground. Locate the buzzer and find the wire running to the rear of the bus. To do this, simply turn the key to the on position, but don't start the bus. Take your test light and touch one side of the terminal or wire. If it lights up, you have the positive side of the buzzer. If the buzzer sounds, you have located the ground side, which is the wire that runs to the rear of the bus. Connect the blue wire to the wire running to the rear of the bus. Place a plastic tie around the two to prevent strain. Now you have finished with the blue wire. Now let's locate the ground wire that runs from the steering column to the horn relay. This can easily be found at the bottom of the steering column. Test to be sure it is the ground wire for the horn. Simply connect the test light to a good ground and probe the wire. The horn should sound. Splice and run an 18-gauge wire from the horn relay ground wire through the front panel to the main electrical panel. Connect the green wire of the master alarm unit to the ground wire from the steering column. Before connecting to the master alarm unit, it's a good idea to double check to be sure this is the horn relay ground. Be sure to leave some extra wire when you make the connection. Keep the wires neat and together by attaching a plastic tie. If you have a child Checkmate test unit, plug it in to make sure all of the connections are properly made, like this. The LED will light up corresponding to each function. To install the master alarm unit, mount it in the main electrical panel with either double-sided tape or screws. Insert the wiring harness into the master alarm unit. You are now finished with the MAU portion of the installation. Now let's install the rear vehicle transmitter, RVT, in a rear engine bus. First, locate the back buzzer. Turn the ignition on. Find the wire that runs to the front buzzer. Use your test light. When you touch the correct wire, the front buzzer will sound. Before you install the two-wire rear vehicle transmitter, remove the last panel on the driver's side. Drill a 23/64 hole for the grommet and push the grommet into the hole. Next, mount the rear vehicle transmitter with 3 number 6 screws. Place it above the last window on the driver's side. Caution! The reset button, RVT, must be thoroughly grounded. To ensure this, place a star washer under the top screw between the panel and the rear vehicle transmitter. Be sure the ignition is on. Connect the yellow wire from the rear vehicle transmitter to the wire that connects to the front buzzer. Next, connect the red wire to the 12-volt side of the buzzer. Press the reset button to make sure the front buzzer pulsates. Voila! You're ready to roll. To install a reset button with a conduit, you'll need a chop saw and goggles, an air drill, and a file. Locate the spot above the last seat on the driver's side where you want to place your reset button. Making sure the reset button is straight, insert the top screw. Remember to put the star washer under the top screw to be sure it's grounded. Measure the conduit to make sure it is long enough to reach inside the reset button and down inside the interlock box at least 1/2 inch. Cut the conduit to length. File off the burrs inside the conduit. Using a small bit, drill a starter hole in the box. Then, using a bigger drill bit, make the hole big enough so the conduit can easily fit inside. Cut out the part of the interlock box above the hole for the conduit. File to remove burrs. To ensure a proper fit, temporarily install the interlock box. Fit the conduit inside the interlock box and make adjustments as necessary. Fish 2 wires down through the conduit. Remove the interlock box cover. Drill 2 holes at the bottom of the rear vehicle transmitter. Mount the rear vehicle transmitter with Phillips number 6 screws. Place an appropriate number of plastic P-clamps over the conduit and screw it into place. Remove the interlock box cover. Turn on the ignition. With your test light, check for the 12-volt positive wire. Connect the red wire from the conduit to the positive wire of the buzzer. Wrap a plastic tie around the wires. With your test light, find the wire that runs to the front of the bus. Connect the yellow wire to this wire and wrap a plastic tie around the wires. Finally, reinstall the box, making sure to clean the conduit and surrounding area thoroughly with an all-purpose cleaner. Now that you have finished your installation, you need to conduct a walkthrough of the system to make sure that everything is working properly. Included with your installation instruction brochure is an operation checklist. Please refer to this checklist and follow each step carefully in order to confirm a successful installation. Once everything has been checked and is working properly, the only thing left is to apply stickers to the inside front of the vehicle. Thank you for your attention to this installation video. Child Checkmate will continue to help ensure the safety of our children for years to come.